Deborah, now you know that this is backed by Unshackle Upstate, the Business Council. A number of people, groups, are concerned about jobs leaving, especially upstate New York. Do you know what the #1 export of New York State has been for the last 10 years? It's been young people with college degrees in science, technology, math, the kind of things that we need. We do a great job in New York State in primary and secondary education. We have higher institutes of learning, private colleges, public institutions. We do a great job. And then people get degrees in the kind of things we need, not only to compete with other states, but the world. And where do they go? They leave, they go to North Carolina, they go to the Research Triangle Park down in Raleigh, or they go to Austin, Texas. So I think that this bill ought to be given a chance, because what we're doing right now is not good. So if there's a possibility of keeping young people here in math, science, technology, we have high-tech manufacturing. Upstate used to be one of the #1 manufacturing hubs in the country. Not so much anymore. Where I'm from in Rochester, we got great universities, U of R, we got RIT. We produce a lot of young people with good, solid degrees, and then they move out of state. We lose those tax revenues. We lose the fact that they would be buying houses, paying property tax, school tax. So the one thing that I think people are concerned about, and I'll just give you an opportunity to answer this, is why do we have, as part of this, income tax free? Because if you're allowed to have a good paying job, let's say you move to North Carolina, you got a job for $150,000 a year, that's going to be state tax free, income tax free. I think that's the one area that people would have a problem with.
Thank you very much. I would point out that a very high percentage of SUNY graduates stay in the state,
Well, that's good.
which is a great thing.
Yeah.
But it is a concern, and they leave. They may not leave the state. They may leave upstate, and that is something that we want to change. And I would say to you that the state has, in the past, utilized economic development dollars to support specific entities, businesses, and given them a chunk of change without necessarily seeing the results of the promise of the number of jobs produced. What I actually like about this, part of it, is that if a job isn't produced, there's no benefit. So to some extent, somebody's got to get a job. They got to get a reasonably good paying job in order to be at the level where they're paying income tax. So to some extent, I see that as part of the carrot.
Right.
And we are willing to forego some of that income tax. There is a cap after 5 years on higher earning income. So if you have been really successful, we're not going to let people beyond 5 years have a tax-free on their income tax if they're making $200,000.
Right.
So there is, but we want to give people a chance to get started. We want to incentivize the businesses to be able to attract, look, these are going to be young people.
Right.
Unfortunately, they're probably going to be carrying some debt, some school debt. And we want to be certain that they get a chance to get some income, be able to pay back some of their loans, and get their feet on the ground before they are subject to the income tax. And as I say, there isn't a job created. The state doesn't lose any money because we haven't front-loaded with any cash. So we're just saying our investment in your business, our investment in you hiring young people who are working at that campus that you have maybe had working on a part-time basis. They're going to school, they're studying specifically for the kinds of jobs you need. You're going to hire them they're going to get a leg up, and they're going to start to settle down and sink roots into that community. So that's the
Right,
that's the
so-
theory. That's the hope.
Right,
And I
once
understand. Believe me, I have heard from many of my colleagues, and I myself felt at first that was really sort of a hard thing. There are other people working on that campus in another facility paying their income tax. You work in that building, you're not. But it has some limits to it.
Right. Well, a job that doesn't exist doesn't pay any taxes, even when you go out to a restaurant. A job that doesn't exist obviously doesn't help us. So I would agree with that.
Or
but-
doesn't make enough. I mean, there's a point you have to be rolling along to be and making a little bit more, not to be paying income tax. To be starting to pay income tax.
Right. So you feel this is a good counter move to say maybe a governor from Texas coming up here and asking young people to move down there for better paying jobs and no state income tax?
Well, I think that some of the theory is that because of the requirement for there to be some sort of academic nexus, that this is going to lead to students who will be the prime applicants.
Right.
And as I said, in some instances, schools may respond to the specific needs of a business and the types of coursework and perhaps apprentices, internships that develop that connection and create an anchor. And then, as I say, if this is in fact young people who are starting out, generally they're having some loans to pay off, and that's a way that the state is maybe helping them pay their loans when they hadn't really helped them with their tuition.
Right. Well, like I said, I had a couple concerns. You hear it on, talk radio and other forums that people are concerned about that aspect of it. But as opposed to doing nothing, we can try this. If it turns out that it doesn't work out the way we want to, I believe the governor and yourself and others will say we need to redefine the program then, correct?
It's a work in progress. We're hoping to get it off the ground. We believe there are solid indications because we do have, we've seen what's happened down the road. We actually made fairly substantial investments down the road at nanoscale, and it has paid very decent dividends, and I believe through the years will be even more dramatic as these new technologies pervade our society, and all of our appliances. Your refrigerator is going to talk to you.
Well, we
people's
have to,
phones. It was amazing. I was traveling up to see one of the schools in the North Country, and I didn't get I neglected to get the directions from point A to point B. And then I realized that my iPad had that voice in it, and I just said, get me from here to there. She was a little bit wrong about the last left turn,
well,
but
I can tell you that in the area I'm from, Rochester area, Monroe County, we have a lot of high-skilled, high-tech workers. We're #1 per capita in patents and intellectual properties. If we can turn research and development into commercialized businesses, I think that'll be successful. I just wanted your assurance and everybody else's that if we see this program is not working, we're going to come back here in the next 2 or 3 years and rectify that.
while it's a 10-year program,
Yeah.
there is really the application time period is only 7. So in conversations, we brought that back. People have to show up for this in the next 7 years.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it.